Hey guys, Hellhound, and I can't believe I'm making another video on this, but I promise this will probably be the last one. This is the definitive conclusion of my thoughts of the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I had some time to think about it. I slept on it. I kind of processed it more in my mind. If you saw my other two videos, my thoughts on Spider-Man: Homecoming, parts 1 and 2, you know that I was very disappointed. I was let down. I didn't like it. But now I have some time to think about it. I apologize. Maybe I was a little too harsh. Now, I still don't think the movie's like really anything above like a 7 out of 10, maybe a high 7, or maybe even a low 8. And I don't like it as much as the other 5 Spider-Man movies. But now that I think about it, it is definitely a solid entry in the MCU. It does fit in really well with the other movies, I think. And it was a kind of a good way to incorporate it into those movies. And I don't really mind that Iron Man and Captain America are in it. In the early Spider-Man comics, we saw the Human Torch. He would show up a lot, the Hulk, and even the Avengers. Doctor Strange, Thor. And so I didn't mind that at all. I did feel like they try to make it too much like Iron Man because they thought that Iron Man's kind of their most marketable character right now because of the movies, and they don't realize that they can make a Spider-Man movie that's like all about Spider-Man without making money. I still kind of got that feel from it, which I didn't care for. And now I still hate the supporting cast. I still think that those characters are done all wrong. Aside from Tom Holland and Michael Keaton, I didn't like the other cast. I didn't like the fact that his suit had the AI and would talk to him and had all this fancy technological stuff. Sometimes it felt like he didn't even have spider powers and that the suit just did everything for him. I didn't like that. We didn't need that. I don't like how he didn't have a spider sense. That was terrible. I mean, Spider-Man without a spider sense? Come on, he never used a spider sense. He just had that damn AI telling him everything. I didn't like that at all. Where the hell was his spider sense? I didn't like that he got everything from Iron Man. Like, Spider-Man's supposed to be a loner. He did all this stuff himself. He crafted his own gadgets, his own costume. That made him so much more interesting. And he was revolutionary as a superhero when he first came out because, like, all the previous superheroes were almost like gods. And then we have this guy who's, struggling to make ends meet. He's an outcast in school. He's to take care of his old aunt. And he became a superhero out of guilt. And he's, like, angst-ridden. And, he fights because he feels like he has to, and not for the glory, not for the fame. And so I feel like they got that wrong. I feel like these people didn't read a Spider-Man comic that made this movie. But, again, if you go into the movie not wanting it to be like the comics, if you're not like a huge Spider-Man fan who really wants to see an adaptation of the comics, the source material done properly, you'll probably enjoy it. And on that level, it is pretty awesome. Seeing Spidey in action again was great. And the fact that I think that they kind of thought, I think they thought, okay, the people have already seen all this stuff in the other movies. Let's do something new. Let's try something different. It was a different take on the character, for sure. However, I read some reviews that said, if you're a fan of the comics, you'll love this movie. It reminded me of the early 60s Spider-Man comics. Like, are you kidding me? Maybe the fact that he's young, and maybe the fact that he's a teenager again, and he's learned to use his powers, he's not as good yet, maybe that. But other than that, it didn't feel at all like the early comics to me. It felt more like a modern thing. He had no spider sense. That's a huge. I mean, that takes points off right there. And as I said, I loved Michael Keaton as the Vulture. And you know what? As far as that goes, the most interesting thing in this comics for me was Spider-Man fighting the villain, the whole good versus evil thing. And that element was done really well in this movie. Spider-Man fighting the Vulture was awesome. Tom Holland and Michael Keaton were both great. Tom Holland's a great choice for Parker, especially a young one. So that part was done really well, I thought. I kind of wish the Shocker had been more of a villain, with his full, yellow waffle-styled costume and stuff, instead of just having, like maybe a couple moments of action and not lasting very long when it comes to fighting. But, whatever. The Vulture was the main villain, and I think they definitely wanted us to know that, it was all about the Vulture, and the others were just kind of henchmen, just kind of working with his little crew. And I also something I really liked about this movie was that the love story did not take center stage. In the past Spider-Man movies, the romance was like the main focus. It was like the key ingredient in the other movies, and I like that they didn't do that here. Didn't really even have a love story. Spider-Man doesn't get the girl. He doesn't kiss her and swing off with her and save her a bunch of times. And I kind of like that they did that. They went in a different direction. Because I don't really remember, like the early comics, like maybe the first 50 or 60. I don't remember Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane or Betty Brant getting saved a bunch of times. And again, I didn't like Flash Thompson. I didn't like Liz Allen, who is now Adrian Toomes' daughter, despite having a different last name. I don't know. and she just kind of had a crush on Peter Parker briefly in the comics. She was never really a love interest, so. But then again, as I said, they didn't really go anywhere with that this time anyway. He just almost took her on a date, so so that was fine. I mean, I was fine with that. I hope the next one has a better supporting cast. And yeah, I hated that Zendaya, aka as Michelle, was supposed to be MJ. She said her friends call her MJ. I didn't like that. She's not MJ. Yeah, the characters weren't true to their comic counterparts at all. The Raimi films did a much better job at that. Hell, Mary Jane Watson had red hair, and she was an actress, and she was bubbly and friendly. Gwen Stacy had blonde hair, and she was like a model, and she, everybody was after her. Betty Brant had short brown hair, and she worked for the Bugle. The characters were dead on. J. Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, came right out of the comics and onto the screen. That was probably the most perfect cast I've ever seen. And I can't believe anybody would say... I've been reading reviews of Spider-Man Homecoming. They're saying, they finally got Spider-Man right. It's just like the comics we've been waiting for. No. If you look at it as that way, then it's going to fail. And, I don't know what comics these people were reading. I don't know what movie they saw. I mean, it may have been an awesome movie. It may have been a great movie. Hell, now that I've thought about it more, I'll even say it was a pretty good Spider-Man movie. I just wanted more, of the elements that made the comics so great. And when it came to Spider-Man and his struggle, he was kind of angst-ridden. He was kind of, he's supposed to be that way. He's supposed to kind of be apologetic towards, what he has to do. And he saves the day and then he kind of, fails. He still has all these problems to worry about. That's what made it so interesting reading Spider-Man as a young kid. I was, for nerds everywhere, that was what made him so interesting. He wasn't a millionaire who had all this, servants, all these gadgets at his expense, I don't know, I feel like the fact that Tony Stark is supplying him with all this stuff just kind of makes him, I don't know, it kind of makes him seem, worthless. They weren't confident that he, that he could do it all on his own. Even though he developed the webbing, and he developed the mechanized web shooters at least, I prefer the organic ones in the Raimi films, obviously, honestly, because I thought that was one of the few times that a source adaptation bettered its source material. Because if somebody has the powers of an arachnid, they ought to have their own webbing. I mean, come on. And plus, I don't really believe that a teenager can develop his own mechanized things that could shoot web. He's only struggling for money. Why doesn't he just sell those? I think he tried a couple times in the comics, though, but they said it, didn't last long enough or something. Anyway, going off topic. As I said, the good versus evil aspect was done well. Vulture was a great villain. And, they didn't make him overly sympathetic like they did some of the past Spidey villains. He was a little sympathetic. He had kind of a story you could kind of relate to, and you kind of, saw what he was going through. But, man, he was just fucking evil, man. He was very threatening. And Michael Keaton just saved the day. Every second he was on screen, he just stole the show. I can't praise him enough. I can't believe I'm making a part 3 about this. But I thought about it more, and, now that I look at it, I did kind of have a good time watching in the theaters. Once I stopped comparing it to the comics and the other cartoons and the other movies, I enjoyed it a lot more. I hated the AI in the suit. I hope they just kind of ditched that. I hope that was just kind of like a one-time thing. I really do, but I don't know. We'll probably see it again in the next one. He didn't have all that in the Civil War movie, other than the eyes, which was fine. It kind of reminded me of the early Steve Ditko drawings of the John Romita era. Aside from that, he didn't have all this crazy gadgets and all this fancy weapons and stuff. I mean, the suit just did everything for him. I didn't care for that. I can't see how anybody would. I can't believe people are saying, it's finally we got a proper adaptation. Finally, it's the one we've been waiting for. No, I'm sorry. If you look, it's fine if it's a good superhero movie, a good intro to MCU. I think people really wanted to like this one, and I did too. I wanted to like it, but I'm just being honest. It could have been a lot better. I still have the same issues with it. I still have the same problems, but I feel like if you look at it a different way, I shouldn't have been reading the comics right before this. I shouldn't have compared it so. Oh my god! I just woke up. I can't think. I can't think of words. I shouldn't have compared it so much, I guess. As I said, the hero and the villain are done well. Tom Holland definitely can be a great Spider-Man. He is good. I still prefer Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I do like how Tom Holland's Spider-Man did wisecracks and one-liners. He kind of made jokes, and Spider-Man's supposed to be a smartass, In this universe, Tony Stark is already a smartass, which, he shouldn't be, especially when he's Iron Man. In the comics, the Submariner and Spidey were the two biggest smartasses in Marvel, and Like, they got that part of it right, I think. When he was, like, attacking the robbers who were dressed as the Avengers, like, he's made some wisecracks and stuff, and that was done pretty well. And I feel like, I don't know, I just felt like he was too clumsy. He's been Spider-Man for 8 months this time. He kept getting his ass kicked, and he would run into walls and stuff, and he was swinging on his webs. But I feel like it did take some interesting turns, things we haven't seen in other Spider-Man movies. Like, again, the romance was definitely played down, which I liked. He didn't really have a love interest, per se. Not like the other movies anyway. And there was times where, like, he didn't have anything to swing his web on. Like, there's no buildings or trees around. I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, this is far from, like, a perfect Spider-Man adaptation. I can't believe some people are saying this is better than the other movies. They finally got it right, things like that, because, no. You can compare it to they haven't read a comic, apparently. Or, unless they're just talking about the whole high school thing and how he's young and, and he's like a fledgling superhero. That was fine, I guess. But, Tony Stark's supplying his weapons, having a suit that talks to him, no spider sense, and all these annoying, like, Flash Thompson was, like, in this, he went to Washington with this, like, science group in his class. They're going to have a competition, and Flash Thompson's in the group. What happened to Flash Thompson, like, the football hero, and the guy who got drafted into the army? Like, that was not Flash Thompson. Again, poorly casted for the supporting cast, for supporting characters. They weren't done well at all, but, But when it comes down to it, my favorite part of Spider-Man, again, as I said, was always the hero and the villain, and they were both done really well. Michael Keaton, again, was freaking awesome as always, and Tom Holland's a great newcomer in Marvel. He fits really well in the MCU. In fact, the other Spider-Man actors, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I feel like they wouldn't have fit in the MCU as well. So, Tom Holland doesn't have that going for him, and he definitely had a lot of serious moments too. He wasn't really overly, jokey like the other characters, like his irritating friend Ned, who I just couldn't stand. He ruined the movie for me. Despite getting a few chuckles out of me here and there, things that I wasn't expecting. I'm really pleased with Tom Holland. I'm interested in seeing more of him as Spider-Man in the future. And I think they finally got the villain right. Michael Keaton's Vulture was definitely my second favorite MCU villain next to Loki. But let's face it, the MCU hasn't had great villains so far. They kind of make up their own thing. Like in Iron Man 2, Whiplash, Blacklash, which kind of just, two characters fused together based on another character. It wasn't really like the comics. And the Mandarin, don't even get me started on that. Darren Cross was, Yellow Jacket and Ant-Man. He was good, but the villains haven't been that great in the MCU, other than Loki and now the Vulture, who was really good. I thought Ultron could have been better. Thanos would probably be good, though, in the Infinity War. And also, I heard that they're not going to do the black suit in this universe. They're not going to have Venom or any of that. That's one of my favorite story arcs in the comics. I mean, I think it should come much later. Then again, it'd be kind of cool if we got the black suit in Infinity War, because it'd be kind of the closest thing to, like, Secret Wars. That's where he got the black suit in the comics. I always loved that arc, and, like, it wasn't done all that well in Spider-Man 3. It could have been done a lot better, that's my biggest gripe with that movie. So I'd love to see a properly done adaptation of that, but I guess they're not doing that, so I guess I'll just wait for the next reboot. God. But yeah, again, the Vulture was great. Tom Holland was great. I hated the lack of spider sense. They took way too many liberties with the character and with the other characters. Spider-Man was no longer a self-sufficient loner who, had his own secrets, and when he reveals his secret identity to somebody, it should be like a special thing. It should be like a moment where, like, everything just stops and it's, like, really emotional and, like, it's for a good reason. Not as a joke where he flies in the window and his stupid fat friend sees him, "Oh, you're Spider-Man," and then whispers, "Can you do this? Can you do this? Can you summon an army of spiders?" during class. That's not how it's done. That's not done right. And Spider-Man never had a friend with him all the time attached to the hip and helping him fight enemies by, calling people and helping him, do stuff with his suit and stuff. That wasn't right. And of course, Aunt May had to find out who he is too, and at the end, and with another joke. It was another joke the way she did it. So yeah, a lot of things disappointed me about this movie. There's a lot of things I didn't like, but again, I was thoroughly entertained. I was never bored. It was pretty action packed and well done. I mean, they've done so much stuff in the other Spider-Man movies, like the fight with Doc Ock. They play ping pong with Aunt May, and the train scene. Then we had the Sandman's birth when he's made of sand. There's no talking. The CGI's done really well. Blew me away. It's like the T-1000 and Terminator 2 and the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. I mean, there's so many great things that the other movies have done. I think they didn't really want to repeat that. I think they wanted to kind of make it different from the other movies. And when you look at it that way, it's done really well. But don't tell me that this was a proper adaptation of the comics and that this is the Spider-Man movie we've been waiting for. Don't tell me that. If you say it's a great superhero movie, great entry to the MCU, well acted by the lead and the villain, then yeah, I agree with you. But if you say that this was supposed to be a faithful adaptation of the source material and it's better than the other movies, no, I'm going to have to disagree with you on there. To each their own. If you like the movie, great. I wish I could have really liked it too. And looking back, I'm kind of liking it a little more and more. As I said, I was disappointed with Spider-Man 3 when I first saw it, and I still have the same issues with that movie, but it's really grown on me, and now I find it to be really fun and really entertaining, and I get excited when I watch it. And maybe this movie will have the same effect on me. And again, as a young Spider-Man, maybe we haven't seen him unleash his full potential. Maybe in the next movie he'll be more self-sufficient, more independent, disguise his voice a little bit when he has the mask, and a little more morose and a little more angst-ridden. I don't like it to be too dark and gritty and serious like some of the DC movies. I thought Wonder Woman was done well. I thought it was really done right, and it was really faithful to the source material. I didn't think Gadot, however you pronounce her name, I didn't think she looked anything like Wonder Woman. But performance-wise, it was dead on. She pretty much nailed it. And she kind of resembled some versions of Wonder Woman I've seen in the comics. It wasn't too far off. But, it is what it is. And I think that was, I think if Spider-Man had been done a little more like that, I could have enjoyed it more. But again, I think I was being a little unfair. I was being a little too harsh, a little too critical on it. I think I will enjoy it. I think I will, I'll get it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I will watch it a lot, and, have some laughs, and I already know what to expect now, so I'm not going to be let down. I look forward to see what direction they take it in, for the MCU's future. Again, I wanted to see another solo Spidey film, like in the vein of the other films. I wanted to see all the characters done right, but they weren't really trying for that. I don't think. I think they were just trying to kind of make their own movie, kind of give it a little twist, and they really built upon the fact that we've already seen all that stuff in the other movies, and they wanted to do something different. If this had been the first Spider-Man film, like back in 2002, if this is the movie they made, I think I would have really hated it. And I think everybody would have thought it sucked. But since we already have these other Spider-Man films that kind of covered all those issues, this one tried to do something a little different. This one didn't want to repeat itself. I still kind of wish there was some reference to the origin in there. Like, we really do need the Uncle Ben scene. We need the talk of Uncle Ben. They need to mention him at least, because that's what made Spider-Man want to be a hero. And here it just felt like something was missing. It felt like he didn't have that guilt. He didn't have that anguish. That kind of forced him to be a hero. And also, where was his interest in photography? There was no hobby with taking photographs. I mean, at the beginning, yeah, he was filming everything. He was videoing everything, things that revealed his secret identity too, so I don't know who he's going to show it to, and then things with Iron Man and everything, and all kinds of secret stuff, so I guess he did kind of have it a little bit, but hopefully the next time he'll be taking pictures of his fights with villains and sending to J. Jonah Jameson, who hopefully will be properly done. It'll be hard to top J.K. Simmons, because he ruled. Hopefully it'll have a bright future, and I think that it will. I think they might try harder next time. I think this time they were just kind of trying to incorporate it into the MCU, and they really wanted people who were familiar with Iron Man and the Avengers and stuff. They wanted to fit well in that. But I think maybe next time they'll say, okay, well, let's focus on making a Spider-Man movie. With the great characters of the comics and a huge wealth of stories. Got a great mythology. Hopefully that'll happen. So again, I was a little too hard on the movie. I think it was good. I really did enjoy it. I just was a little too judgmental, I think, because I'm such a diehard fan of Spider-Man, and if it wasn't for that, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But, as I said, I think I'm going to like it. It was pretty good. I give it a thumbs up. Go see it. I recommend it. Hell, you'll enjoy it. Just don't compare it too much to the source material, and brace yourself. Be aware that you're in for something a little new, a little different, because, in a lot of ways it's more of the same with the Marvel formula, but in a lot of ways it's really different when it comes to Spider-Man. Alright guys, I'm Hellhound. Sorry I had to make yet another video. This will probably be the end of it. Feel free to discuss it with me in the comments like we have been doing. Long live Marvel. Spider-Man's my second favorite superhero next to Batman. And I think they did a good job with the character. And some other things were really strong too. Alright guys, go see Spider-Man Homecoming. Later.